Assalamu alaikum, Bismillah. We're going to start this event. Thank you to everyone who joined in person and everyone who's joining online. My name is Mishka Ahmed. I'm with Community Changemakers, and I'm so glad to welcome you to Al-Qasat Masjid for this very informative event. We're going to start with a prayer for Sudan, and followed by Imam Izhar's speech. This event about fostering and adoption, we first did it in 2021 when there was an expected wave of unaccompanied minors from Afghanistan. And following that, as you all know, many thousands of Afghanis came to America, resettled here. Alhamdulillah, they're making their lives, and more people are coming, including the next expected wave is of Sudanese refugees. And we are hosting this event to encourage especially Muslim families to consider fostering, to consider adoption and care for these refugees, especially the ones without their parents with them immediately. You're going to hear from a host of perspectives, starting with the Islamic perspective, why this is encouraged upon us. And inshallah, this will be recorded and shared among our community. So definitely share with your friends who couldn't be here today. But I thank all the ladies and gentlemen who came, all of our sponsors. And I would like to introduce our first speaker. Mufti Izhar is a graduate of Darul Uloom Al-Madina in Buffalo, New York. He's a Hafiz of Quran and a certified Mufti. For the past 17 years, he has served as the Imam of Masjid Mu'mineen, where he plays a vital role in spiritual guidance. He also teaches MJAM Masjid, Arain Quran Center, and he conducts classes in Quran, Tajweed, Arabic, Sirah, and memorization. We're also mentoring the youth groups. Mufti Izhar is actively involved in various community outreach programs and dedicating his efforts to benefit and uplift the community. And I specifically chose Imam Izhar as somebody who often works with families and youth. I've seen what he's done in the community as an inspiring member of our community to talk about this topic, to get families to consider fostering and adoption, inshallah. So we'll continue with Imam Izhar.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of God Almighty be upon all of you. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulina amma ba'd. Faqad qala Allah ta'ala fi al-Qur'an al-Majid, ba'd a'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. يسألونك ماذا ينفقون قل ما أنفقتم من خير فللوالدين والأقربين واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل وما تفعلوا من خير فإن الله به عليم وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام أنا وكافل اليتيم كهكذا في الجنة أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. First and foremost, I would like to welcome and thank each and every single one of you for taking on the time from your very busy schedule to attend this important program. I know it's a Saturday morning, and if you had wanted, we could have been anywhere else with your families. But the fact that you chose to come here shows your passion for this event, this program, and this topic. It's not the quantity of the attendees that matters, but rather the quality. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from all of you. Ameen. As you're aware, the topic is about fostership or adoption or taking care of those who are in need, children who are vulnerable, who are in need. And since I'm the first speaker and being an imam, I've been asked to speak briefly on this topic. So very quickly, I will divide my talk into two parts. First, I'll speak quickly about the importance of adoption or fostership from an Islamic perspective. And then very quickly, I will address some of the misconceptions that people might have. Also, I might address some of the fiqh rulings, the Islamic rulings, the jurisprudence when it comes to adoption, because people may have some questions regarding that. So when it comes to the concept of adoption and taking care of the orphans, I mean, it's very clear. The Quran itself is replete with verses of the Quran about helping the orphans and helping those who are in need. Compare this to, say, rituals. And this is not to downplay rituals, but when it comes to fasting, there's only a few verses in the Quran. In one section, in Surah Al-Baqarah, that talks about the obligation of fasting. When it comes to helping the orphans, there are more than 24 verses in the Quran. When it comes to Hajj, it is only mentioned in 2-3 places. When it comes to helping the poor and the needy, there are literally over 2-3 dozen hadith regarding this. Our Prophet ﷺ, peace be upon him, said, "Ana wa kafil yatayni kahakada fil jannah." I and the one who take care of the orphan will be like this in Jannah, in paradise. And he basically pointed with his fingers that this is how close I'll be to him. For our guests who are of other faiths in the audience, I would like to let them know as well that Islam is a complete way of life. Islam is not just limited to rituals, to prayer, fasting, going to pilgrimage, Hajj. Rather, it deals with everything. It teaches us how to deal with our neighbors, how to treat our neighbors, our parents, our children, and those who are in need. If you read the Quran, you'll come to realize that the rulings about rituals were revealed much later. For the Muslims in the audience, it was revealed in Medina, which is the last 10 years of the Prophet, peace be upon him. All of the verses about helping the poor and the needy were revealed in the earlier part of the revelation in Makkah. The Makkah surahs are replete with these verses, right? يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. They ask you, what should they spend? And they're also in the Medina surahs as well. So they begin in the Makkah surahs, and it continues, and it's repeated in the Medina surahs as well. So this verse is from the Medina surah. يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. They ask you, what should they spend? قُلْ مَا أَنْفَقْتُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ فَلِلْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ وَالْيَتَامَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ. Whatever you spend of good is to be for parents, relatives, and the orphans. وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْيَتَامَى. They ask you about the orphans. وَالْإِصْلَاحُ لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ. And on and on and on. So you have all of these verses, and you have all of these hadith concerning the orphans. So Islam is not only limited to rituals. In fact, some of our scholars are so meticulous, they actually feel hesitant saying Islam is a religion because people might think it is only limited to rituals and to a place of worship, whereas Islam is much broader than that. Islam is a complete way of life, and it includes all of this. So I wanted to just emphasize that. There's so many hadith and we give khutbahs and sermons regarding this. So I wanted to now move on to the second part that is more important, because there are some misconceptions that people have about adoption. So the first misconception is, and I've jotted a few of them, they're not in any particular order, but I'll try to address as much as I can. The first misconception is that people think adoption is forbidden in Islam. And this couldn't be further from the truth. Adoption is not forbidden, but is highly encouraged, provided it aligns with Islamic principles. Now, why do people have this misconception? The reason people have this misconception is because there's some specific rulings that adopted children must adhere to, right? In terms of inheritance, in terms of the hijab and things like that. That they're not treated exactly like biological children in that sense. Not in terms of treatment, if you treat them with kindness and compassion, so on and so forth. So, this is the first thing. The Prophet, peace be upon him, he had adopted a young man. His name was Zayd ibn Haritha. And this is referenced in the Quran. The second misconception, adopted children must take the family name of the adopted parents. And the reality is no, it's the exact opposite. Islam prohibits changing the lineage of a child. The Quran mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab, "Ud'uuhum li'abaihim wa aqsatu 'inda Allah." Call them by the names of their fathers. Okay? And in the Arab culture, the way you identify someone is by mentioning his name and the name of his father. You know, nowadays we have our identity card, so it's easy to identify ourselves. But in that culture, if there's 100 people whose names are Abdullah, how do you know which Abdullah it is? You would say Abdullah, the son of so and so. That was how it was done back then. In our culture here in the West, we have the last name. So are you allowed to change the last name of the adopted children or not? So this is what it is referring to. You cannot change the lineage. If you adopt a child and he is the son of so and so, you say, you know, this person and mention his father's name, or just call him by his name. But you cannot change their biological name and basically give them the name of the adopted parents. The third thing is, adopted children automatically inherit from their adopted parents. Okay? And this is also not correct. So in this sense, they're not treated like the biological children. Now let me explain what this means. In Islam, when a person passes away, there's a very complex science, right, that deals with inheritance. Not all of the relatives are going to receive a share, right? Because of course, you may have 100 relatives, everyone is not going to receive. Those who are closer to you would block off the relatives who are further away. If you have the parents, the grandparents are blocked off. If you have children, the grandchildren are blocked off. If you have siblings, but you also have children, the siblings are blocked off. They don't get anything. Also, within these immediate relatives, their shares can increase or decrease depending on the presence of other relatives. So when a person passes away, he has no right to distribute his wealth however he wants. It has to be based on the distribution mentioned in Surah An-Nisa. However, you're allowed to kind of, work with 1/3 of your wealth. It's called wasiyah, that if you want, from this 1/3, you can give to whoever you want with 3 conditions. It cannot exceed this portion, it cannot be more than 1/3, it cannot be to a relative who's already receiving, and it cannot be for an un-Islamic cause. So if you have a distant relative who has been blocked off, maybe a niece, maybe an aunt, they can get from the inheritance since you have the closer relatives. But from this 1/3, you're allowed to allocate for them. So when it comes to adopted children, they cannot get from the regular inheritance, but you can give them from that 1/3. Look at it this way. If you think this seems harsh, look at it this way. If a person has their own biological children, if he has a daughter, she's entitled to half of the wealth. If there are 2 daughters, her share basically gets diminished. If there's a boy, it gets diminished even more. So if you have a biological daughter, by adopting 2, 3 other children, her share will not be decreased. Okay? But you can still allocate to them, but it will be from the 1/3. Okay? So because it has these specific rulings, people automatically think, oh, it means adoption is haram. No. Adoption is allowed, but you have to follow these rulings. Hijab, it's the same thing. If I have a daughter, and I have a daughter, and I adopt a boy, when they grow older, there has to be hijab maintained between them. They are not blood relatives. They're not blood siblings. They are, in the sense that when it comes to marriage, in the context of marriage, they are strangers to each other. So I'm allowed to marry off my daughter to this boy that I'm taking care of. There's no blood relationship. Okay? There is also another concept in Islam. It is called rada'a, which is a little bit different. And when it comes to marriage, certain relatives are forbidden upon you. You cannot marry, of course, close relatives. This type of prohibition comes in 3 ways. Through blood, through marriage, and through rada'a, which is if a mother breastfeeds another child. Okay? So we all know blood relatives. Mother, sister, daughter, all of these, of course, are prohibited in marriage. It's common sense. Number 2, through marriage. If I marry a woman, her mother becomes my mother-in-law, and she will always remain the mother-in-law. Okay, she will always remain. even if, God forbid, a divorce happens, she will always remain the mother-in-law. So that is the relationship that is established through marriage. The third one is through rada'ah, that if a woman, she breastfeeds another child who's under 2, then that child is treated almost like a biological child, different than an adopted child, except for inheritance. In inheritance, he doesn't get to share, but in terms of hijab, they are basically almost like siblings. You cannot marry your biological daughter to your rada'i son, okay? But when it comes to adoption, this does not. So what is the solution to this? If, for example, someone wants to treat their adopted child almost like a family member, it has to be done within a time frame though. And that is that if you adopt a child who's two or younger, he has to be younger than 2, and the mother, she's able to breastfeed that child, then basically it becomes almost like a biological, not biological, almost like a blood relative, almost, in terms of hijab. So therefore, there will be no issue of hijab and things like that, right? But in terms of inheritance, they won't get the regular inheritance, they can be given from the 1/3 wasiyah. So these are just some of the misconceptions I wanted to address. But in short, Islam emphasizes the importance of taking care of the children. The Prophet emphasizes it in many hadith, and you always hear that well-known hadith. And with this I conclude, أَنَا وَكَافِلِتَيْنِ كَهَكَذَا فِي الْجَنَّةِ. I am the one who will take care of the orphan, will be like this in Jannah, in paradise. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. And you want to do the prayer at the end for Sudan?
Yes. Inshallah, we'll pray for our brothers and sisters in Sudan. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك وتبارك اسمك وتعالى جدك ولا اله غيرك. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد النبي وعلى اله وسلم تسليما. اللهم انصر اخواننا المظلومين في السودان. اللهم انصر عبادك المظلومين في كل مكان وحين. اللهم انا نجعلك في نحورهم ونعوذ بك من شرورهم. ربنا لا تجعلنا فتنة للقوم الظالمين ونجنا برحمتك من القوم الكافرين. اللهم انا نسألك من خير ما سألك به نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ به نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وانت المستعان وعليك البلاغ، لا حول ولا قوة الا بالله. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Jazakallah khair. So next up, I'd like to call our special guest, Ms. Monica Perez. So while she connects her presentation, I'll give you her brief bio. Ms. Monica Farias is a Florida board-certified child welfare case manager, supervisor, and bilingual professional in English and Spanish, with over a decade of leadership in child welfare, specializing in foster care, minors separated from families, and adoption services. She is dedicated to promoting child safety, well-being, and permanency through innovative program development and strategic leadership. As a seasoned program director, Monica successfully managed multifaceted programs, implementing streamlined processes for program improvement while providing trauma-informed, culturally competent care while building sustainable partnerships with the community to continuously improve service delivery in the child welfare field. For the past 7 years, Monica has led the development of the Unaccompanied Minors Refugee Program, URMP, creating a safe and welcoming environment for children from around the globe. These children, separated from their families due to crisis, war, civil unrest, and persecution, have given the opportunity for safety, stability, and hope through URMP. The program has successfully supported children from regions including Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Central America, Africa, and South America, providing culturally competent care and transitioning planning to help rebuild their lives. Monica professes a commitment to children, families, and communities to inspire others to drive impactful change that enhances lives and creates brighter futures. Wow, mashallah, great work, Miss Monica, and we're glad to welcome you now to the stage.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And so you can sit right over here. Yeah, you can use any of the stairs.
Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I was blessed by a presentation with the Afghan children coming to the United States in another community. And it was a great presentation. We recruited families from that opportunity. This time the situation is a little bit different. It's not the Afghan population. It's a different situation in the border of the United States with Mexico. And usually I see children from Guatemala and from Honduras. This time I'm seeing children from Sudan, Mauritania, Ghana, Egypt. I've never seen this type of population in the number that I'm seeing right now. And next to their names is always speak Arabic, they speak other Sudanese, they speak other languages, and then religion, Muslim faith. So these are not the Afghans, these are kids from Africa. What a change for Miami and for Broward. So, like in the movie, who should I call when I am in need of a massive community? Of course, I call Mishka and she puts everything together. So the presentation today is in general what we do at the program. This is a program from 1960s, initiated by Catholic Charities when there was the entrance of the Cubans, and then continue receiving children through the years. We have had children from Africa before, from the Congo, the Congolese area. We see children from South Asia also. I am not sure if you know about the Rohingya population. They are not coming anymore, but we receive a lot of them. So the reason that we exist here is because our calling is to receive the orphan, right? And who are these orphans? These are the most vulnerable population that you may think, because they are thrown away from their villages and countries and cities, and they just don't have any place to go. So because they're vulnerable and they're minors, they are trafficked from one country to another. So they may leave Sudan, but they go north to see if they can go to Europe. But if they're kicked back, they are trafficked into Central America and then into the United States. This is quite a journey, and that's makes them very vulnerable. Also the age. These are teenagers, and that makes them more vulnerable than any other child that goes away with family. We can go to next. So our campaign for this year and the next one will be that your home is going to become now a safe place. So it's going to become a safe home, but the only condition is that you say yes, of course. That you are moved by the need of the orphan that we talk about. That, yeah. There is a charger at the back. Yeah, it's the battery. I'm so sorry about that. I will continue with the presentation and then we more. Thank you. So to do this, to welcome the orphan, is next to my bag here, the last row of chairs. Yes, there should be one there. Yeah, that one. We recruit families that are willing to do this. And this has to be done permanently because these children are not going to be reunified with their families. The families have no chance to come to the United States in a legal manner like the Afghans did. We reunified 2 Afghans in 2022 with their families when they were able to enter the United States as refugees too. But that's not the case in the majority of the Afghans, and it's not going to happen with these teenagers. These families that we are recruiting, they have to have in mind that this is going to be permanent. May end in adoption if you want to adopt. A teenager may end up as the substitute family. May end up as the mentor, the one that guides them. Because we need this type of families that will help them to maintain who they are. Is that why I'm reaching out? Because adjusting to a new country is not an easy thing. I'm an immigrant. It's not easy at all. Don't ask me to lose my religion. So we want to maintain their identity, who they are, their food, their holidays, their spiritual growth. They don't have to renounce to that. And that's why we are reaching to all the Muslim faith community. I cannot, even if I want, it will take me years to learn about the richness of this life and the qualities and the principles. So foster families go through a process that is the process of becoming foster parents. And for that, foster parents need to take certain trainings and go through background screenings and visit to the home and get ready in your mind that now the kids are going to have a case manager and is going to have an attorney for getting the citizenship status. So it's a shift of mind only for becoming this, like everyone said, right? We're very close. Yes, you can do it. So we serve children that enter the United States and they enter with nobody. They can enter with parents, they can enter with relatives, but this one don't have anything. They have to arrive into the program before their 18th birthday. Otherwise, they are not minors anymore. They can stay in the program after the 18th birthday. And that is when a very generous package for these young adults starts. So the first package is called Extended Foster Care, and it's for them to obtain the high school diploma. They have until they are 21 to obtain their high school diploma. And they do. You know, we know teenagers' brain is very plastic, right? They learn very fast. And the second benefit after they have the high school diploma is that they can go to college, they can go to university, or they can get a certification in trade. And the program ends at 23. So they have some time to obtain something. We have had in the program children that became young adults and left the program already on their path to master degree. This one was a very special case because he came from Congo already with some education. But we have a pre-med that also studying to be a doctor, and she came with no education. So it's a generous program because it pays completely for their education. So what are we seeing in the latest traveling or journeys, how we call them, is that they travel alone. It's not that they left home with somebody of their relatives. They travel alone. They come from very, very poor places where there's no education. They just come here and they say, I want to work. Of course, if you come from a very poor place, you want to work, right? Education is not your goal. They want to send money to their country, whoever is in their country. And smuggled into the United States. They may be trafficked between countries, but they have somebody that is also called a coyote that allows them to enter the United States. All of them has interrupted or no education, and you should see their faces when they enter. Nothing. Probably, they don't have any type of, you don't know what age. I can see 3 teenagers here sitting here in front of me, and I know that they are teenagers. I can see their faces, and they're well nourished. These ones are not, and we don't know if they're teenagers because the lack of food and a nurturing environment. There is an interesting movie, I'm not going to put it now. This one is for...
You know what's really fun?
This was for the kids that... Yeah, you can see. This is for the kids that enter through the waters that come from Central America. Who are the kids that qualify to enter? The Cuban Haitians. We're seeing a lot of Haitians again. Asylees, we don't see many asylees. Asylees are kids that enter already with a status into the program. Refugees from all over the world. And these are the ones that are entering now from Africa through the border, they are getting a special juvenile immigrant visa. And we are also seeing that they are getting the human trafficking visa. So those are the two types of visas that the Sudanese kids are getting. That visa is going to help them to obtain the citizenship in the future. And of course, the humanitarian parole for Afghan children continue this year, but we have not seen that many. The services that we provide for them are case management, immigration services through Catholic Legal Services, that is free, therapeutic services and life coach, so individual therapy, education specialists to help the foster parents to navigate the educational system, because it's a little bit different for refugees than for regular children. We provide tutoring, a lot of tutoring, very generous in tutoring services. They receive Medicaid until they are 23. They receive $77 allowance, the minors. The ones that are in extended foster care, they receive more money. We provide them with phone cards to communicate with friends or any family around the world. We give them bus passes to the older ones so they can go to study or to work. We have money for after school activities. Everybody asks, I work, I need to send them to after school. Yes, we pay for that too. We pay for summer camp. Summer camps are very expensive. So we pay for summer camp. And for kids in elementary, middle, or high school settings. So as you can see, the services are very generous again. And we have a fantastic food pantry for the foster parents to use, because we acknowledge that teenagers can eat. And they eat a lot. So foster parents complain in our program how much the teenagers eat. But that's good. So how we go back to foster parents. Your home must become licensed by the state of Florida through a training. And once you have all that, we start matching with a long list of children that are on wait right now. They are in shelters in Texas or Arizona. So we inform those shelters that there is a family interested, and they send us a list of children, and we start the matching process. The matching process is we let the family know, and the family makes the decision to foster or not that particular child. Doesn't mean that we are not going to call you again. It means that we will continue until the match is correct. And the correct match is the one that we are going to use to do the fostering experience. We also have short-term foster care, which means that you can foster only for 30 days or 10 days. These are for children that enter the country at very close to their 18th birth, and we don't want them to be deported. So we are going to ask you, please house this child until he or she turns 18, so we can place them in what we call semi-independent living home. The placement for per day, the short-term placement is $20 per day or $600 a month. We do transportation to medical when it's an emergency or when we cannot transport to medical appointments. We pay for transportation to and from school, And as I already said, tutoring online, and we have this urgent placement that we need. So if you don't want to commit for the long term, urgent placement costs a lot. So we are going, if you select to be an urgent placement for a minor that is going to turn 18, we will help that minor to transition into housing, or we can no longer use your home as a foster home, but we will use your home as housing for the teenager or the 18 years old, and we will pay up to $850 a month for the use of that room, and the teenager or the young adult will have food stamps. You don't have to do anything. They will have bus passes, and of course we ask them to work. They don't like it, but we ask them to work. Now, what is the requirement? I don't know what I have got in the middle there, but I'm so sorry. I'm going to tell you that the requirement is to pass the foster, the background screening. I think it's a trouble. It's the same thing, it's a double image. So the first part will be background screening at the federal, nationwide, and statewide through fingerprints. Then at the local, we will do your local with the police department, and there's something that is called the sexual offender registry, and after that we will do the abuse registry to see if there is any intervention with the Department of Children and Families. Once you pass all that, we will visit the home to see if you have a spare bedroom. And if you don't have the furniture, we may help with a new bed, a new mattress, and probably a dresser. It will be from a nice donation. But the bed and the mattress, we will help with that. Of course, the women for the bedroom. The bedroom, we need a spare bedroom for the child. The children will prefer that they don't share room with anybody else. It's preferable. We have a very little information about these children, right? We have to intervene, do a lot of assessments. So we prefer them to have their own bedroom. They can share a bathroom with the rest of the family, of course. Another requirement is that you must have income, some type of income that shows that you're able to support yourself. Because what the state pays hospitals is very little, so it's not enough. And it's not an income. What you receive per month, you don't have to also, it's not an income, so it doesn't pay taxes. You don't have to declare that in your income tax at the end of the year. If you live with more than one person in the home, everybody who is an adult goes through the same thing. Fingerprints, local backgrounds, sexual offenders, etc., etc. If you live with children in the home who are 12 years old, they will go through FDLE, which is Florida Department of Law Enforcement, to see if they have been arrested. And if you have a child that is under the 12 of age, there will be no background screening done. What I'm telling you is something that the state of Florida has determined that is the standard for foster parents and the federal government. It's not something that Catholic charity. Okay. I'm sorry? You don't have to pay anything. So, I'm sorry, I didn't understand it.
The last one that they did.
If the children are under the age of 12, they don't go for we don't do background checks. Yes. Everything is paid by the state of Florida, so you don't have to pay for fingerprints, you don't have to pay for anything. There is also a training that is mandatory for everybody. If you are married, is mandatory for husband and wife. If you're a single person and you live with parents or an aunt or somebody else, that person does not have to take the training. But if husband and wife, both must take the training. So, again, yes, if you are married, both husband and wife must take the training. We calculate income with both husband and wife, for instance. If you are living with somebody else, which is maybe your parents or another relative, we do not require those to take the training because they will not be taking care of the child. But they will go through background screening. Now, there are other roles, like mentors. Oh, you can go back. Mentors, we need of those. These children are going to adjust to a new country and a new society and culture. We also need people that would like Misha, to promote the program and help. And you can organize activities. Even if you say, hey, do you have some Muslim kids? So we would like to help you with Ramadan. Last Ramadan that we had for the Afghans was a lot of food, right? So we were very grateful for the help of the community. And then also you can donate furniture, you can donate your time. Even we take any in-kind donation that you would like. So if there is a next step that you want to take, is register for the training classes, schedule a visit with the program specialist. I'm not the program specialist, to start the process, and do the pre-screening package, which is all the background screening. And this is something that I keep very close to my heart was a Rohingya girl, and says that there is no other option but to leave family behind, and nobody can do it alone. The children cannot do it alone. So what I added is that we can be the change if we want and have that calling. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hope it was informative and it can help you to make a decision.
Thank you so much. Very, very informative.
I don't know if you have questions, if anybody has questions.
If anyone want to ask live questions, and also Miss Monica will be here afterwards as well. She wants to know about the volunteer program. How does that work?
The volunteer program works in person or through online, and is through you can help with learning to read, learning basic maths, and when I say basic, is to recognize numbers and count them and 1 plus 1. So you don't have to be a mathematician to teach these children. We can do not only that, but also a volunteer can be a mentor online or in person, and can be once a month as well.
What is the responsibility for them? What does that?
If you want to become a mentor, there is a training for mentors that is different than training for foster parents, and it's basically showing how to work mentoring online and also how to work with boundaries around being a mentor. And the commitment that we ask is at least once a month to have a connection online with the youth and help them to understand what they're going through, and then meet with the program once a month with the case manager just for any concerns that you may have, and to let us know how things are going between the mentors.
One person can mentor how many youngsters?
I would say as many as you can and your time allows. It's very, once you become a mentor, they identify you as part of their life. So they might be calling you very frequently, and sometimes two is too much. And one is the number that we would like to keep until they go. Thank you. I would write it.
We have another question. She asked, where is your physical location? Where's your office? And how many current Muslim kids are there available to support right now?
Our physical location is in Kendall, is our office. We don't have the children. We have foster homes and bring the children. The children are somewhere between Texas, Arizona, and New York. Those are the biggest shelters. And what we do is just make the connection when you have the license to make the connection with these children. I don't know if that answers.
Is there a follow-up online? Is there a connection with the child online, or is it in person?
Once they are in shelters, there is no connection. Once they become part of the program, then they live with you, and if you are a mentor, is with the children that we found in the program, and you can do it in person or online. And then sometimes they can have more than one mentor, like in the case of the Afghans, they have one mentor, and the kids had somebody from their religious education that was also meeting with them to help them.
I do have a follow-up question. So say if I want to be a mentor to a Muslim boy or a girl, where would I go? Like, I want to know if this is far from my place. Like, where is that physical location if you have them?
We do everything online. We do all the trainings, everything, all the meetings online. Only foster parents we do visits in person. But for mentors, everything is online through Teams. Yes. But if you want to come to visit to our office, we're very welcome. We are in Kendall, across the street from Dayland Mall.
So I would like to register someone.
Yeah, you can sign up with her afterwards. Thank you so much, Monica. And anyone, feel free if you have more of a private question to come up with her after as we're enjoying the food. I want to also emphasize there are many ways to get involved. Of course, the way that we're promoting today is the most, fostering and adoption. There's mentoring, as she mentioned, volunteering, as she mentioned. Some refugees do come here with their families, and there's other in-person opportunities to volunteer outside of this program with community change makers, with other resettlement agencies as well, which we highly encourage. And there's another program which many people are not aware of, which I would like to highlight, is also the Guardian Ad Litem program. It's kind of a middle between just being a volunteer and being a foster parent. You don't keep the kid in your home, but many kids who go through, maybe their parents are in divorce and they end up in local foster system, or even other, foreign kids who end up in some sort of courts. They need like a guardian, like somebody who advocate for them in the courts. Right now we have one Muslim guardian ad litem in Broward County that I know of, which is an attorney, and attorneys sometimes get assigned them, and there's also a volunteer program. So I'd like to highlight the guardian ad litem program in Broward County, as well as other counties have similar programs if you want to be an advocate that goes to the courts with them to stand up for them. That's an excellent program in addition to mentoring with Catholic Charities, volunteering with community change makers. If you want to do in-person, online, there's lots of options for people who want to get involved in refugees' lives, in unaccompanied minors' lives. Definitely connect with us. The next two speakers I'm going to call up to the stage both have gone through these certifications. The first sister, Dr. Yasmin Saeed, if you both can join up on the stage, and I'll do your introductions. She's an adjunct teaching a Florida certified family mediator. Dr. Saeed became a licensed foster parent in 2016 and has fostered many children since then. In 2018, she also earned her therapeutic license so that she can foster refugee children who come to the U.S. as unaccompanied minors. Dr. Saeed, and sorry if I missed it, and her dissertation was on the legality of adoption in Islam. She is very passionate about adoption and fostering. So mashallah, sister has both the Islamic knowledge and the in-person experience if you have those kind of questions. And then our second guest, they're both going to be sharing the stage, and she's going to focus more on the fostering side. And Sister Asma Khan, born and raised and educated in the Midwest, has spent substantial time outside the U.S., including Karachi, Pakistan, during high school, and 15 years in Dubai as a corporate general counsel for the Al Rajhi family of Saudi Arabia. She has her own law practice providing general counsel services to small and medium companies, family-owned businesses, and family offices. She now lives in South Florida with her soon-to-be 9-year-old son and her freshly minted 7-year-old daughter. She has been an adoptive advocate for many years and will speak about the general process of international adoption, which I know many in our community have asked me about since the last event we did, so I made sure to get somebody who's well-versed, legal expert, and knows about this topic. So please welcome these wonderful ladies to the stage. And
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My name is Yasmin, and I wanted to share with you some of my experiences as a foster mom. When I moved to Florida in 2015, I was a single mother with 2 young children, and I was also a PhD student at the time, but I was keenly interested in fostering children. And I went through the process, filled out all the paperwork, everything that Ms. Monica mentioned. I went through the training, I did all the background checks, everything that was required of me. In my case, it took a little bit longer only because I had recently moved from Dubai. And so I had to get like a background check from the United Arab Emirates police reports because I had lived there for 12 years prior. Although, I was quite diligent. It took about, I would say, 5 months from start to finish. And after I became licensed, through Kids in Distress, I started getting assigned children from the system, from the foster care system. Because my children were young, you are allowed to stipulate age and gender. You're not allowed to stipulate ethnicity or religious preferences. So I would choose younger children because my children were younger at the time. And so it was, easier for me to manage as opposed to teenagers. Although now my kids are older, so I can definitely welcome teenagers into my home. And so I received a lot of foster children from all kinds of backgrounds and circumstances. I would go immediately, pick them up from the foster home and bring them. Some would spend a few months, some would spend almost a year. I've maintained relationships with almost all of them since they have reunified with difficult circumstances. One of them, for example, was a 6-year-old boy who actually his mother had overdosed on some form of drugs, and she had passed away in the home, and the child was alone at home with the deceased mother for a couple of days before the police came and found the child, and then they handed them over, and then I took the child. There are too many stories, but these children, just like our own children, they need love, they need care, they need affection. They don't just need a roof over their heads. They don't just need a meal and medical care, right? They're not robots. Just like you hug and love and support and smile and take care of your own child, somebody else's child needs exactly the same thing. And so the idea of foster care is that instead of putting these children in group homes where they can't get that level of attention, the state deems that it's much better for these children to be taken care of by families who can truly care for them like their own. Now, in foster care, you're not adopting, so it's a completely different process. That's something that Asma is going to talk about. In foster care, these are not your forever children. There are certain circumstances when you foster a child, their category is TPR. TPR is basically their termination of parental rights, which basically means that these children will never reunify with their biological parents, in which case the foster parent almost always has first right of refusal to adopt them should they want to. I never came across personally for TPR children, but that's because I didn't care. Some people, it was okay for me to take care of a child and to let them go back to their next of kin after a while. Some people say, you know what, I don't have the heart to do that. When I attach with a child, that child needs to be mine forever. So in that case, you can stipulate and state, you can say, you know what, I only want TPR children. I only want children whose parental rights have already been terminated, in which case you would have first right of refusal to adopt them. And in that case, the state takes care of everything. It takes about 6 months for the adoption process. It doesn't cost you anything to move on. In fact, I had been posted in a position in 2019 to go to Istanbul, Turkey with Broward College as a dean of academics. And 2 weeks before I was commissioned to go, I got a call from kids in distress. There were 2 babies, little girls. They were twins. They were TPR'd. They were termination of parental rights. And they asked me if I can take them on. But because I had already made a commitment to travel internationally with a very, very heavy heart, I had to turn that opportunity down, or else, subhanAllah, I sometimes wonder if I had accepted those, those little girls, they would have been my adopted twins now. But I don't want to understress enough, or overstress actually enough that, I was the only Muslim foster parent, not in Broward County, but in the entire state of Florida. That is very shameful for our community. Honestly, we should really be very embarrassed, because there's no excuse when there are thousands of more than capable families who can foster these children. Why is it that the Muslim community, where in our faith, in our tradition, this is the most important thing, like the Mufti said before, it's more important than any ritual that you could possibly do, is to take care of these children? Why is it that something so obvious to us is something that we don't make a priority? And, you know, I didn't have the ideal circumstances. I was a single working mother doing her PhD, taking care of 2 young children. I wasn't wealthy. I didn't have family support. I had about 20 excuses not to do it. But I did it anyway, because the reality is that there is never the right time to do something. If you want to come up with excuses not to do it, you're too busy, somebody's not healthy enough, somebody, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough time, you will always come up with 100 different excuses not to do it. But the reality is, these children are our responsibility. It's not the state's responsibility, it's our responsibility. It is, and when you come to that realization that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold you accountable for what you have done in your community for children in need, if you really hold yourself to that accountability, then perhaps we will all become a lot more motivated to take care of these children. There are so many of them out there who need a safe home. And I have to say, in conclusion, when you go through the training to become a licensed foster parent, they break every misconception that you may have in your head. You know, these children are going to come and they're going to try to stab you in the middle of the night, or they're going to rob you and steal you and hurt you or hurt your children. Nothing could be further from the truth. All of these things are complete misconceptions, and there's absolutely no basis to them. These children, if anything, will hold on to you with dear life. Your own biological children, who may take you for granted because, you know, you're there, you're biologically there. These foster children will not. They will adore you. They will adore your children. They will be grateful for every meal that you give them, that your own child will be like, I don't want to eat this. That children will love every outfit, every toy, every activity. It is the most blessed experience. And I have to conclude by saying, you know, in all the years that I was a foster mom, for every, one child that I was, alhamdulillah, very blessed by Allah to be able to take care of, that child has added leaps and bounds into my life as well. So it's definitely, this is not a one-way relationship. Whatever you give to that child, I guarantee you, with Allah's decree, inshallah, will give you 10 times more, inshallah, in this life and in the next. Please, sisters and brothers, don't wait. Talk to Sister Monica. Go to the Child Net and Kids in Distress, and inshallah, take the first step towards becoming a foster mom. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
And to clarify, for some folks who may not know about this system in general, the system which Monica talked about was for refugees coming in. Who she got certified with was the first certification was like the local, and the agency which is in charge of Broward County and Palm Beach County is called ChildNet. Today is National Adoption Day, so they were busy with their different programming. I did invite them, and inshallah we will try to host another event where ChildNet can come and talk about local fostering as well. And there's other agencies, like she mentioned, Children in Distress, and we always welcoming these, but this was a big day for them as well. They have their preset programming with the state. And next we're gonna switch it over to the more international adoption aspect of it. A lot of folks asking, how do I bring a baby from Pakistan or from a Middle Eastern country? and what's the processes, and they're so different in each country. And we're gonna specifically focus on USA, Morocco, and Pakistan with Sister Aisha.
Sorry. Assalamu alaikum. It's very nice to meet all of you, and I will be sharing a little bit of my personal journey, but mostly just talking about what the process is for adoption internationally. And that process actually starts here in the United States first. I don't want to discuss my own circumstances because I actually adopted while I was living in Dubai, and so my entire process was more complicated because I was living internationally, adopting as an American, living as an expat, going to another country that was not my country, which was Pakistan, adopting from there. So there was just a lot of layers. But I will sort of just discuss it in terms of how you started and then which country path you choose. So one of the things that you have to do when you are starting this process is you have to choose a primary provider. A primary provider is essentially your guide through the international adoption process. There are not that many primary providers in the United States that handle Pakistan and handle Morocco. So there are only two that I know of currently in the United States that provide primary provider services for people hoping to adopt from Pakistan. One is called Family Connections, and the other one is called Hopscotch. There's a third one called New Beginnings, but right now I don't think they're taking any new clients. And so those are the two main primary providers. For Morocco, I'm not familiar which ones they are, but you can literally Google Morocco and primary provider, and you will find which agencies actually provide those services. And so that's your first step. Your second step will be the primary provider will either also be a licensed home study agency, and if they are not, they will direct you towards a list of approved home study agencies that you can talk to. You usually have to do the home study with somebody who's a provider for your state. And they will give you then what's appropriate for your state's requirements. So most of the people here are from Florida, so you would have a Florida licensed home study provider. But sometimes because they're international adoptions, the courts will accept wherever you may get your home study provider from. So, and that's a separate cost. So the primary provider is one cost, the home study is a second cost, and then you have your U.S. immigration process, which you also have to complete before you leave the United States. And that is your I-600A. And you will complete that process. It's filling out forms, providing history, background, getting fingerprinted. They're essentially making sure that you're not a criminal or going to participate in child trafficking. And so once you get your I-600A approval, that is when you can go and apply to the home country where you are planning to adopt from, whether it's Morocco or whether it's Pakistan. Now, one of the things that you do have to do is when you are in the application process and you're doing your home study, you have to be very clear on the age and the country that you're adopting from, because it will limit your I-600A. And you cannot choose two countries, you can only choose one country. So, and the reason why I'm saying Pakistan and Morocco is because they are the two that have the most clear established processes for international adoption. I am not aware of any other Islamic countries' process, and if they even allow adoptions to take place. Most Middle Eastern countries do not even allow it. And I'm saying this as somebody who investigated potentially, adopting refugee children from Lebanon, from Jordan's refugee camps, from Kazakhstan, I explored a lot of countries before I ended up actually going back to a country of origin, which was Pakistan. And that also happened by happenstance, but again, that's my journey, and I want to talk to you about what could be your journey. And so, so for these two countries, you would have to choose your country at their outset, whether it's Morocco or whether it's Pakistan, and you would also have to choose what would be the age range roughly that you would like to adopt from. Now, in Pakistan, primarily, there's only two agencies that are recognized by the U.S. Embassy for adoption. One is in Lahore, it's called Child Protection Bureau. One is in Karachi, and that's the ED Foundation. I adopted both of my children from ED Foundation, although I know many who have adopted from Child Protection Bureau as well. The reason is because the United States Embassy recognizes that these children are true orphans, meaning that they do not have any connected family that may want these children. And again, because of child trafficking issues and people buying children, this is an issue. So these are the two recognized places that almost all Muslim American families of Pakistani origin go to adopt from Pakistan. And in Morocco also, there is a known orphanage that's recognized, and that's the orphanage where pretty much all Muslim Americans go to adopt from. Statistically, Morocco places more boys. Statistically, Pakistan places more girls. Statistically, Pakistan places the babies at the age of, like almost 5-6 hours to, within a week of birth. Mostly these children are placed with their adopted families. In Morocco, the child is kept in the orphanage for a minimum of 2 to 4 months before they're allowed to be adopted. And that's because they're, again, ensuring that there's no family coming to claim that child. In Pakistan, that claiming process is actually run through the court. So while you are the custodian of the child, you are not its legal guardian in Pakistan until the court completes the process. In Morocco, they're actually doing part of the process in advance by making sure that no family member comes forward to claim the child. And then you go through the court process in Morocco. In Pakistan, the in-country process, because it can vary significantly also because of domestic circumstances. So things like Ramadan and civil disruption can interrupt the courts in their process, and that can prolong your stay. Also, getting matched is also an imprecise process in the sense that you can be in country or you can be waiting here in the United States to get matched, and when you actually get your match is anybody's guess, because there's no transparency in that process either as to when are you moving up the ladder to getting matched. So let me see, we got through that, we got the I-600A. Once you have the I-600A, you do the application process of the local orphanage agency. ED has their application online. I believe the Child Protection Bureau does as well. I'm not 100% sure what Morocco does, but usually these are very straightforward applications. ED always asks for pictures of the family because they look to do facial matching to try and make sure that the child is being placed with a family that they will feel like they are a part of. And so Child Protection Bureau, I don't believe does that. They just place babies with families in the order they're received according to how they're running their waiting list. The wait time in Morocco from receiving your I-600A is roughly 12 months to 2 years before you get placed. And with Pakistan, it's varied significantly, largely because in the last 3 or 4 years, Mrs. Edie wasn't feeling well. And so I think that it impacted her ability to place children. But now her daughter-in-law is running the process and it's becoming more efficient again. And I think placement times now are around 1 year to 18 months. It can be longer. 1 year is kind of on the shorter side. And every once in a while, there's some family that gets placed, in 4 months or 5 months, but that's very unusual. So that is, and you must have your I-600A in order to be able to go in country to receive your child. And that's why it's very important to have the I-600A first, because otherwise if you go and receive your child and you don't have it, it's a whole nother nightmare in the immigration process. And I do not at any point recommend that. So that is, that's sort of the mechanical paperwork process. When you're in country, when you're receiving the baby from ED, they actually ask you if possible to have a Karachi contact, so that if they do contact you, you can have somebody there to receive the baby. If not, then the other option is to actually be in country. So you agree with them a time that you can come and be in country when you're close on the top of the waiting list to come and be in country and receive a baby. So some families have family that can receive the baby in Karachi for them. Others, wait when they get close to their time, and you have to call ED constantly to make that relationship to find out where you are on the list. And they will tell you when it's time or close to for you to come to Pakistan. In my situation, I did not have anybody in Karachi to receive the baby for me, so I basically had to negotiate with them an in-country time when I would come, and then I would be waiting there to receive the baby. And for me, both times when I went, the first time I was in country, I received the baby within 3 days. The second time I was in country, I received the baby after 6 weeks. So everyone's circumstances and experiences are different. I mean, some people receive the baby after 2 months or 3 months, but 3 months is really the longest I've heard, or 4 months for receiving a baby once you're waiting in country. And then once you receive the baby, you immediately take it for medical care because you do not know what its circumstances are and what hardships the baby might be experiencing, and they're not necessarily apparent on their face, meaning the baby can look healthy but need medical care. And so usually the baby goes immediately to either Aga Khan or South City Hospital. Those are the two preferred ones that most expats tend to take their babies to. And then after that, ED will actually direct you through the process. So they will tell you, you need to come back in 2 weeks after the baby's had some time to settle with you and is healthy, and then you confirm to us you're going to proceed with the guardianship. In Pakistan, it's a guardianship, it's not an adoption. In Morocco, it's the same thing, it's a guardianship, not an adoption. So you're proceeding with guardianship, and in that process, ED does what's called release papers. Now, although ED is a private institution, its paperwork is government level precise, and they are recognized by the government of Pakistan, they are recognized by the United States Embassy. So they are very, very particular about how they do their paperwork, when they do their paperwork, and whom they release it to. And so they will release your child's papers, and that paper in Pakistan is held as sacrosanct as any government-issued national ID. And that's a credit to the institution that ED is, that its paperwork is treated that way. And so you get the release papers. Once you have those release papers, the minimum release time is 2 weeks for ED, but sometimes they can make a family wait up to a month to 2 months to confirm that they're going to take care of the baby. And once they issue the release papers, those release papers become the foundation of your legal case in the Pakistani courts. Then you will file your application in the courts, and your court assignment is done by jurisdiction. So, for example, Defense or Clifton have an assigned court, or Nazimabad has its own assigned court. So depending on where you're staying, whether temporary residence or permanent, you have to provide your lease, your contract, your proof of residency. Sometimes if you have a local family member, they might have to provide like their title deed or their rental agreement and confirmation that you're living there. You'll need 2 witnesses to appear in court to testify on your behalf for your good character. And usually the guardianship process can take 1 month to 6 weeks, depending on, again, the judge and the judicial system and the civil unrest that might impede the courts from doing their job. In my specific case, with my first child, I ended up walking into Ramadan and the courts shut down, and then I had to wait a month to complete the process. So like the process was done, but they didn't actually order the order. I actually literally had to sit in Pakistan for the entire Ramadan waiting for the order. And then it was summer, and then I had to suffer through the summer agencies of the government not moving so fast in the summer. And so it's, go in the winter if you can, it's much better. And stay away from Ramadan in terms of timing, if you can. But you get the baby when you get the baby, so sometimes you can't actually control all of that. So those are sort of ad-lib thoughts about being in Pakistan. So once you have your court order, you can get the baby's origin card, and that is the equivalent of what we get, the NICOP, the National Identity Card of Pakistan. And once your baby has that, and it has its birth certificate, you get the baby's passport. Once you have the baby's passport, their national ID card, and their birth certificate, you can apply to the U.S. Embassy with your I-600 application. So you have your I-600A to go to Pakistan. Then there's another application that you complete, which is the one that goes to the U.S. Embassy, which is the I-600, which includes all your paperwork, your home study, your primary care provider's letter, your references from family and friends who say that you're decent, not crazy, you have your, and then all the physical paperwork, your fingerprinting, your police clearances, everything goes to the U.S. Embassy. The U.S. Embassy then looks at that paperwork. They can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months to process this paperwork, depending, again, time of year. If it's Christmas, they slow down. If it's February, they're quite fast. It's just it varies. And a lot of times, talking to your U.S. representative or your senator will expedite your invitation. In my situation, based out of Illinois at the time, and the U.S. Embassy was not responding to my emails, and I ended up writing to both my U.S. senators in Illinois, and within 48 hours of my email, I got a call from the U.S. Embassy, and the U.S. Embassy doesn't call you. I got a call because the U.S. senator called their office. So, and then I had my appointment pretty quickly, which was great for me. But I had already waited a long time before they actually got around to doing that. And so the U.S. Embassy process is also opaque in terms of timing. So overall, you can, if everything goes according to plan, it can be as short as 4 to 5 months in Pakistan, or it could be as long as 8 to 9 months. So it's very variable. I wish I could be more specific, but that's kind of the way it is. Morocco is a little bit of a shorter period in country. My understanding is that in Morocco, your in-country stay is 2 to 3 months. Because your placement notification, you come to the orphanage, you're placed with your child, and you go straight into the court process, and the child is placed with you. So Morocco is a little bit different. So that's kind of the basic gist and background of the adoption process for Pakistan and Morocco, as well as what you do in the United States. Once you complete that process, you are not done yet. You will come back to the United States, and once you have the child here, you will have to file with an adoption attorney based for your local jurisdiction to confirm the adoption in U.S. courts. Once you have confirmed the adoption in U.S. courts, the child will be issued a United States birth certificate.
What the impacts of ethnic cleansing are, what famine is, healthcare and education collapse, and the gender-based violence. And we're gonna wrap it up with discussing what the Trump years part 2 is gonna look like, and a call to action. So let's take like a quick 30 to 60 second exercise. I want y'all to think about a memory you hold dear, a memory you hold close, something in your childhood or your formative years that is essential to who you are today, a time when you felt loved and safe and cared for. Hold that memory close. If you need to close your eyes to get there, do that. But as we go through the slideshow, remember your childhood and remember how important it was for you to feel healthy and safe and loved. So we're gonna give everyone a quick couple moments to gather that memory, hold it close to your heart, remember what it's like to be a child, and then we can continue. From 2022, the UNICEF reported that Sudan's population is 47% children. A lot of children, because we have a population of 50 million people. They know injustice. So for the past 30 or so years, Sudan was under the dictatorship of Omar al-Bashir, and it was only toppled through the resistance of youth. So for the past 30 years, these youth have only known the injustice of living under an oppressive regime. In 2018 through 2019, they were the visionaries that liberated Sudan after a 30-year regime. It was the youth, and through youth-led initiatives, that Sudan finally got liberation through non-violent resistance. And even today, they are community. In our health care system that is currently collapsed, it is the children that are getting together and repairing power lines, opening evacuation routes, providing food and water and protection for their own communities. And in 2020, it was the youth that led the COVID-19 response. Next slide, please. But despite all this, when the war broke out, in 2023, the UNICEF's humanitarian fund was only 18% funded. All those countries, including the US, that vowed to support Sudan's children,
got about 18% funding in the entire year. That's how much international organizations are investing in Sudan's children right now. Next slide, please. And this is what the impacts of the war are. So when we look at them, there's ethnic cleansing. What that means is Sudan has over 500 ethnic groups. Not all of them have the same backgrounds. So ethnic groups that do not have Arab lineages are being targeted and mass exterminated. And this is impacting children specifically. There is famine and starvation that is being man-made and created to hold away resources and food from internally displaced people, especially children. We'll also go into the collapse of the education and healthcare systems and what the impact of gender-based violence looks like. Next slide, please. So ethnic cleansing. There is a report done by the Human Rights Watch, literally titled, "The Masalit Will Not Come Home." The Masalit are a group that live in the Darfur area of Sudan. On a map, we're thinking westmost Sudan. Evidence collected by the Human Rights Watch identifies a 19-month campaign of ethnic cleansing in Darfur. In July 2023, 13 mass graves were identified by Rutgers up there. It increased to 14 new mass graves. Next slide. So when you look at the cemetery up here on the left, it grew 20% faster in the second half of this last year compared to the previous year, I'm sorry. So that yellow area is its new growth. That is a mass grave. Those are bodies, just to be clear. Same thing happening over here. Next slide, please. And we don't have to play the video, but this report identifies that the children from the Masalit group and the Zawadi group were tied up and thrown in rivers so they would struggle. And then they were shot at while they were struggling. So that's the level of torture that these children are enduring. Next slide, please. And this is this is the map of Darfur. So right there. This is the map of Darfur, the westmost state of Sudan, or region of Sudan. And these are the refugee camps that are currently facing ethnic cleansing. So conceptualize that for a moment. It's a refugee camp. It's somewhere people escape to. And now they're being ethnically cleansed within where they went for safety. Next slide, please. Again, the famine and the starvation that's happening is man-made. It's affecting 97% of Sudan's current population. And again, with funding, we only receive 50.8% of what the required funding and what the U.S. pledged. 25.6 million people are facing acute hunger, including those in the Zamzam refugee camp. So I already said all that. We can go to the next slide, please. And the collapse of the healthcare infrastructure. So there's been over 100 attacks on healthcare infrastructure that have left 2 out of every 3 Sudanese women without access to essential services, and over 80% of our healthcare facilities are gone. Again, when we talk about children stepping in, they're the ones that are stepping in to build these bridges. The risk of disease, we have outbreaks of cholera, malaria, dengue fever, measles, and rubella, with an estimated 3.4 million children under 5 under the risk of these diseases. And over 500,000 children are estimated to die from cholera between July and December of this year. Next slide, please. So when we talk about Sudan's children, we are at the risk of losing a generation right now. Next slide, please. Sudan is once the breadbasket of the Middle East and North Africa. So if you are from our region, if you are from Swana, your ancestors were fed by Sudanese, more than likely. And for folks that mentioned, living in the UAE, to this day, Sudan is feeding the UAE the products in the grocery stores of UAE or even in Egypt. If you ever turn them around to see where they're manufactured, it'll be Sudan. This is the bread basket, and now we can't even feed our own children. Next slide, please. So the loss of education is also happening with over 10,000 schools destroyed and 19 million children out of school. By robbing children and young people of the opportunity for education, you're stealing their futures. And also, without education, children are also at lack of shelter, food, community, all the basics that when we talked about our memories earlier that make us feel warm and safe. A lack of an education infrastructure takes away that safety as well. Next slide. And this is my last two slides. So gender-based violence, women and girls again this fall have been, I'm sorry to use this word, subjected to other forms of sexual violence perpetuated by the RSF. This is very sensitive, but this needs to be discussed. And it's destroying their futures once again, as 6.7 million girls, children specifically, are at risk of gender-based violence, and this is happening again in refugee camps, and as folks are trying to escape. Next slide, please. So as we wrap it up and we talk about what's next, even as we talk about what it means for us to become foster parents, guardians ad litem, mentors, we're still going into another Trump administration. And from an immigration standpoint, that's what that means. All of these headlines, that's what another Trump administration means, but I also want to point out one specifically. I can't find it. This happened during the Biden administration. So this was 2023. I say all this to say that we still need to show up for our immigrants, because this is still happening. Children as young as 3 years old are asked to go in, and even if they can't speak English, defend themselves at their deportation hearings. So it's nice. And lastly, please connect with change makers. Mishka did an amazing work at organizing us and bringing us all together today. Connect with Mishka for more information about how you can become involved. If you want to get more involved with legislation and knowing how you can become a lobbyist, how you can go to Tallahassee and DC and work with us on legislation, or work in your local community with immigrants, connect with me. And lastly, please talk about Sudan. Please talk about Sudan. Every time you talk about Palestine and you remember the genocide that's happening in Palestine, may Allah protect our brothers and sisters there, pray for Sudan. Do not forget us, because we are not forgotten. That's all. If I go wrong, I don't.
Thank you, Karen, for your very important speech. Because it's prayer time, we're going to be wrapping up. Thank you to all our sponsors, NWO, Noor Center, AMP. Thank you to all our collaborating organizations. You can learn more about Sudan at the tables right here as we transition into prayer time. Thank you to the volunteers, donors, and like they said, connect with us. You can be a mentor, you can be a volunteer, you can be a foster parent, you can be an adopted parent, and inshallah, you can make a difference, you can advocate. Come learn more, sign in. We also have ordered some food. So if you're a participant in our event, make sure you have signed in. We'll also send you the recording, inshallah. The phone died, but hopefully it's recorded. So we'll send anybody who missed it and who wants to learn more. So if you signed in, you'll get that in your email. And then join us outside. We've ordered some food separate than the food trucks, which is for the next event. So definitely join us outside and do namaz next. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.